Something.
Okay.
Welcome from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, National Institute of Food and Agriculture in Washington, D.C. Welcome to our webinar on AFRI and global engagement opportunities. My name is Otto Gonzalez. I'm with the Center for International Programs of USDA NIFA. I'm here with my colleague, Patty Fulton.
Hello.
And also Olivia Kwong from the AFRI team.
Hi, everyone.
We're going to, today in this webinar, cover the opportunities for global engagement as found in the 3 fiscal year 2019 AFRI requests for applications, or RFAs. All activities related to global engagement must advance U.S. agricultural goals. The webinar will also cover relevant information in the descriptions of grant types and in the evaluation criteria. And at the link you see on the screen, you can get, as you may be aware, AFRI, or the Agriculture and Food Research Initiative, is the flagship competitive grants program of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, National Institute of Food and Agriculture. So let's begin. AFRI is comprised of 3 RFAs: the Foundational and Applied Science Program, the Sustainable Agricultural Systems RFA, and the RFA for Education and Workforce Development Program. So we will go through each of these RFAs, and we will highlight on which pages you can find particular text relevant to international activities and global engagement. We'll begin with the Foundational and Applied Science Program RFA. This RFA is really a program with many parts. And as I said, we'll highlight the language on global engagement. So we'll show you where the text is. You'll see screenshots of the pages, and then we'll zoom in on the highlighted text. So on page 6, under the Purpose and Priorities section of this RFA, you see a highlighted paragraph. Let's go, actually page 7 here. NIFA supports global engagement that advances U.S. agricultural goals. To attain the agency's goals for U.S. agriculture, global competence of our nation's agricultural workforce, and safe and nutritious food security in a growing world, NIFA recognizes that collaboration with international partners through AFRI can contribute to advances in U.S. agriculture. In an increasingly interconnected world, these U.S. advances may have global importance. Thus, applicants to this RFA may include collaborations with international partners. However, only eligible U.S. institutions may apply. Such applications may include subawards to international partners or other institutions and must clearly demonstrate benefits to the U.S. Additional guidance on including international activities is provided on the AFRI Partnerships website. So we'll go to that website in just a moment. But what we've done is throughout this, these RFAs, we've highlighted the text in yellow that you are interested in looking at. And also on the slides here, I've put these little graphics. In this case, the globe, it says Global Engagement Paragraph. This paragraph is found in each of the 3 RFAs. And we put these little graphics in here. So if you're thumbing through these slides at a later date, you can quickly find key language, key paragraphs, and other statements. So let's take a look for a moment at the AFRI Partnerships, AFRI International Partnerships webpage. Whoops, there we go. Actually, just a moment here. Actually, well, we'll look at that in just a second. But first, we'll take another look, a closer look at some of this language in here. Within the section on plant health, production, and plant products, this is one of the program areas under AFRI. You'll see here highlighted that applications that include collaborations with international partners may also be submitted. And now we'll get ready to take a look at that AFRI Partnerships webpage. And also you see we have this little photo with flags that highlights wherever you see this text on collaboration, this text that mentions that collaborations with international partners may be submitted. Okay, so now look at the AFRI Partnerships webpage.
Yeah, so this is Patty. This webpage includes about 11 frequently asked questions that we sometimes get regarding these international partnerships. We'll go into a little bit more detail later, but just want to mention that if one of your questions is not on this webpage, you could feel free to contact us in the Center for International Programs or any of the national program leaders who manage the AFRI program that you're interested in applying to.
Thanks, Patty. So back into the RFA, as I mentioned, we're in the program area on plant health, plant products, and plant production. And within that program area, there are various priority topics. This priority area is on pests and beneficial species and agricultural practices. And if we look further into this RFA, we'll see a highlighted paragraph about the U.S.-Ireland partnership. Looking a little closer here, zooming in, we see it says, NIFA may partner with Ireland and Northern Ireland under the U.S.-Ireland Research and Development Partnership to solicit collaborative research applications in the pest and beneficial species and agricultural production systems program area priority. For more information, including FAQs about this program, visit the NIFA Ireland and Northern Ireland Partnership page. Applicants submitting to this partnership must select collaborative as the grant type in their application. Title should begin as tripartite. So we're going to go to Patty to find out a little bit more about this U.S.-Ireland Research and Development Partnership, because there will be opportunities appearing throughout the RFA.
So since 2016, NIFA has been partnering with the Republic of Ireland's Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine and Northern Ireland's Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs on this research and development partnership. Scientists from the U.S. can develop joint collaborative proposals with scientists from Ireland and Northern Ireland in response to several program priority areas within this RFA. The following are the program area priorities that are part of the U.S.-Ireland Research and Development Partnership: pests and beneficial species in agricultural production systems, animal nutrition, growth and lactation, welfare and well-being of agricultural animals, diseases of agricultural animals, animal breeding and functional annotation of genomes, and mitigating antimicrobial resistance across the food chain. There are different application deadlines for each AFRI program, but the scientists in Ireland and Northern Ireland have to submit their proposals to their departments of agriculture approximately a month before the AFRI deadline. Their applications must be approved by their departments before a joint collaborative proposal can be submitted to NIFA. So here on the screen, you can see this is the website for one of our partners that talks about the partnership call and provides detailed information about the partnership. Also, our website on the U.S.-Ireland partnership that was previously mentioned in the slide gives detailed information about the program as well as FAQs. But if you have questions regarding the partnership, you can contact me directly.
Thanks, Patty. So in the RFA, at least on the slides, whenever we come to an area where there's opportunity for collaboration with Northern Ireland or Ireland under this partnership, you'll see that little green oval there that says U.S.-Ireland Partnership. And again, on these partnerships, while there are not any additional funds to the U.S. Participant, you have the ability to collaborate with the Irish participants who have their own funding. So you're really able to provide, really bring in more resources overall to look at the scientific question you're trying to answer. And you have the benefit of the expertise of the colleagues from Ireland and Northern Ireland. So back into the RFA, we're still in the program area of plant health, plant production, plant products. And within there, there's a priority area, a priority topic on plant breeding for agricultural production. If we look more closely, we'll see that there is a special opportunity to apply for additional funding under this topic. Let's look a little closer. As you see here, it says there's an opportunity to request $650,000 for applications that include specific types of partnerships. For example, a plant breeding research application that includes significant collaboration with minority serving institutions, or small to mid-sized institutions, or EPSCoR state institutions, and or international partners will be funded up to $150,000 above the listed maximum of $500,000. So that means while 500,000 is usually where this tops out, you can apply for up to another 150 for 650 total for this topic on plant breeding. And whenever you have this opportunity in the RFAs in this slide, you'll see that diamond there with plus $150,000. Again, just to aid you in finding your way through the slides of this RFA. We'll continue through this RFA, and now we're going to another program area, animal health and production and animal products. You see the photo with the flags. So that flags this, pun intended, that flags this opportunity. Applications that include collaborations with international partners may also be submitted. The AFRI International Partnerships webpage, which Patty referenced a little earlier, contains additional information on international partnerships. So again, throughout the RFA, as we go through these different program areas, you will see this text, just really further demonstrating that AFRI is open to international activity and partnerships. So as we look at the different priority topics under this program area, we see animal nutrition, growth, and lactation. And this is one of the areas, one of the topics that has opportunity that Patty mentioned with the US-Ireland partnership. So as we see here, NIFA may partner with Ireland and Northern Ireland under this partnership, and then particularly in this area of animal nutrition, growth, and lactation. And you can go to that website that Patty showed you earlier, NIFA Ireland and Northern Ireland partnership page to get more information. We go into another topic. This is one on welfare and well-being of agricultural animals. And here we see a couple of opportunities. Again, well, actually, there's one here for additional $150,000 above the $500,000 maximum. You can apply for that if you have an international partner or minority serving institution, EPSCoR state institution, or a small to mid-size institution. And also, in this area was the opportunity to apply to collaborate with US, under the US-Ireland partnership. Move to another area. This is on diseases of agricultural animals. And here again, you see there's opportunity for collaboration with Ireland under the US-Ireland partnership. You see the green oval there. And also an opportunity to request $150,000 above the $500,000 usual maximum. Again, even though you're seeing both of these, they're not really connected. They're separate opportunities. And actually, if you're working with Ireland or Northern Ireland, you're not eligible to ask for that additional $150,000. But for other partnerships with other countries, you can do that. We'll move to another topic. This is one for animal breeding and functional genomics. Again, opportunity for collaboration with Ireland and Northern Ireland. You see the green oval there and the highlighted text on page 32. Just a closer look at that again, this opportunity. And now we're moving into a third program area in this AFRI RFA. This is the one for food safety, nutrition, and health. And there you see flagged that language that applications can include international collaboration. And also here you see flagged with the green oval, an opportunity to work with Ireland and Northern Ireland. Taking a closer look, we not only see that opportunity, but one for working with the antimicrobial resistance joint programming initiative. And let me back up a page here for a moment. This area, I should have said, is on mitigating antimicrobial resistance. So again, mitigating antimicrobial resistance in the food chain, opportunity to work with Ireland and Northern Ireland, and then this opportunity to work with the Joint Programming Initiative on Antimicrobial Resistance. That's a consortium of European research agencies where they are funding their scientists from a variety of countries to work on antimicrobial resistance. So if you're looking for international partners, you may want to check their website, which we have a link to there. And again, as I mentioned, opportunity to work with Ireland and Northern Ireland on antimicrobial resistance. We now move to another program area in the AFRI Foundational Applied Science RFA. This is Bioenergy, Natural Resource, and Environment. And again, the language inviting applications that include international collaboration and the link to the AFRI International Partnerships webpage. Another program area, the agriculture systems and technology. Again, we see the opportunity for international collaboration. And similarly, in the next program area, which is agriculture, economics, and rural communities, opportunities for collaboration. See the AFRI Partnerships webpage. And we have a cross-cutting area within this AFRI RFA, also showing this opportunity. This is on the Critical Agricultural Research and Extension program area. And for tactical science, for agricultural biosecurity, something to note here is this special mention, international collaborations that enhance our ability to manage threats and reduce losses to U.S. agriculture are encouraged. As you know, many of the plant diseases and animal diseases and pests that threaten U.S. agriculture are foreign in origin. So there are opportunities here for international collaboration, should you be interested. That's it for this particular RFA, Foundational and Applied Science. And now we're going to go to the RFA on Sustainable Agricultural Systems. This is a relatively short RFA, but a very important one. Under this RFA, the awards can be up to $10 million, and they envision maybe 8 or 9 such awards. Under the purpose and priorities, we have highlighted the same paragraph on global engagement that we had in the other RFA. NIFA supports global engagement that advances U.S. agricultural goals. And as you see, it goes on to say, to attain the agency's goals for U.S. agriculture and global competence of the nation's ag workforce and a safe and nutritious food security in a growing world, NIFA recognizes that collaboration with international partners through AFRI can contribute to advances in U.S. agriculture. And as before, applications may include subcontracts to international partners, and you can get more information at the AFRI International Partnerships website. And also here's flagged that information or that statement that applications with international collaboration are encouraged. And again, a link to the AFRI Partnerships webpage. And just a closer look at that. Again, this is the Sustainable Ag Systems RFA of AFRI. And that's it for that RFA. And now we're going to go to the third of the 3 RFAs, Education and Workforce Development Program. Under the purpose and priorities of that RFA, just as in the other 2, is this paragraph, the global engagement paragraph, again stating that NIFA supports global engagement that advances U.S. agricultural goals. And again, a link to the AFRI International Partnerships webpage. Now, within the AFRI Education Workforce Development RFA, a couple of areas we should take a closer look at. Let's zoom in. You'll see here mentions of global leadership and study abroad and international experiences under the Developing Pathways area, and also international research on issues relevant to U.S. agriculture under Advancing Science. So whenever you see these spheres with all the flags on them, that means that there is some text relating to study abroad, international research, or international experience. And again, the text on applications that include international partnerships are welcome, and that link to the AFRI International Partnerships webpage. So again, you see this throughout the AFRI RFAs, making it very clear that international collaborations are welcome. Again, they have to advance U.S. agriculture, but there are many examples of projects that do that, benefit U.S. agriculture, and also have a benefit to other countries. And again, flagging here, language on international experiences. So let's look closely at the programs within this RFA. First, we have research and extension experiences for undergraduates, REEU. And under that program, you'll see highlighted here, under the different types of experiential projects, Study abroad focused on global food security issues to develop global competency skills. So that is something that can be supported with research for undergraduates, research and extension experiences for undergraduates, and there are many good examples of projects that have done this. Pre-doctoral fellowships. Under pre-doctoral fellowships, you'll see that applications that involve international experiences through collaborating mentors, for example, are encouraged. And then let's go to postdoctoral fellowship. We'll see the same language there. Applications that involve international experiences, for example, through collaborating mentors, are encouraged. So that's it for the three AFRI RFAs, and now we'll look at the evaluation criteria. There is a link in each of the RFAs to this evaluation criteria. And we're just going to highlight a couple of areas that relate to international. So under project relevance, you'll see there's a mention, when international collaboration or activities are involved, the project leverages expertise, resources, and experience from beyond the United States to achieve greater impact, or brings foreign or international research efforts to address issues relevant to U.S. agriculture. So as you see, there are these opportunities and within the evaluation criteria that international collaboration is mentioned. And that was for research projects. What about integrated projects? That would include research and education and/or extension. When research involves international collaboration or activities, the project leverages expertise, resources, and experience from beyond the United States to achieve greater impact, or brings foreign or international research programs to address issues relevant to U.S. agriculture. And then you'll see mentioned, when extension or education involves international collaboration or activities, the project leverages expertise, resources, and experience from beyond the United States to achieve educational objectives for global competency and leadership by U.S. graduates and/or extension objectives for agricultural production, market opportunities, and innovation. Now, let's look at the different grant types and where some mention of international opportunities, international activities is relevant. Here are the different grant types. Again, there's a link to grant types in each of the AFRI RFAs. And I want to talk for a moment about conference grants. Now, in conference grants, there is not any language particular to international. That's only because it was felt the language wasn't needed. Because you can do international activities. You can have conferences that are international. For example, conferences where you're bringing U.S. participants to a foreign location, or maybe foreign participants to a U.S. location. We have supported those types of conferences. So conference grants, although international is not explicitly mentioned in the text, conferences can be international. Again, there must be a benefit to U.S. food and agriculture. Now, some grants types where there is a specific mention, under seed grants, if you're eligible to apply for a seed grant, and the eligibility you can find within the connections within the AFRI RFA, it says here, seed grants are to provide funds to enable investigators to collect preliminary data, which may be obtained through establishing new domestic or international collaborations. So just want you to be sure that you see that. International collaborations can be supported with seed grants. And sabbatical grants. If you are in an institution that's eligible to apply for sabbatical grants under AFRI, you'll see that collaborative arrangements, domestic or international, are encouraged. So just want you to be sure to be aware of that. Now, we want to go back to AFRI International Partnerships. We've reviewed the 3 RFAs. We looked at the evaluation criteria, and we have looked at the grant types. And we want to spend just a few more minutes now with a little bit more information on these next 3 slides about AFRI International Partnerships.
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, these are just 11 questions that we came up with that we think give you the basics about having an international partnership through AFRI. As you can see, the first question is, what is the definition of an international partnership for AFRI applications? How do I identify an international partner? Can I use NIFA funding to support to travel internationally? But again, you may have other questions that you need to have answered. So you can contact either Otto, or you can contact me, or anyone on the AFRI team, including Olivia, or any of the national program leaders that are responsible for the specific AFRI programs. And we will gladly answer your questions.
Yeah, thanks, Patty. And also, this question here, does NIFA have any current AFRI relevant international agreements that I should be aware of? And we highlight 3 here, the Ireland and Northern Ireland one, which Patty has talked about earlier in some detail. And then also we have a collaboration with the CGIAR. The CGIAR is a system of 15 international agricultural research centers around the world. And we do have an exchange of letters with them. We encourage collaboration with the CG centers. And we also have, USDA has an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Tropical Agricultural Research and Higher Education Center, also known as CATIE. So again, you'll see information for these on our International Partnerships webpage, AFRI International Partnerships. And with that, we want to go to your questions. You can issue your questions through the chat box, and we're here to answer them. And let's see if we can see the chat. Art, can we bring up the chat box? You can just type in your questions, and we should be able to see the chat in just a moment. Okay, so let me start reading some of these questions in the chat box. How can one find examples of previously funded grants which involve international partnership? Does NIFA AFRI Data Gateway identify grants with international partnerships? Well, thank you very much for that question. I'm going to go ahead on a slide for a moment. We have this brochure, Advancing U.S. Agriculture Through Global Engagement. And you see the URL for that, or if you just Google NIFA Global Engagement, NIFA Advancing Global, you should be able to pick this up, but also you see the URL there. But this is a brochure with examples of projects that NIFA has funded that have some type of international collaboration or activity. And many of the examples in here are from AFRI. So you can get that brochure online. You see the link there, and also have these links again in the last slide. Next question, what is the definition of international, or, excuse me, what is the definition of intentional or unintentional contamination of food? It is related to products generated during food processing. Thanks. Okay, while this is not so much an international question, I can still give an answer, and you may want to follow up more with our national program leaders in the Division of Food Safety. But basically, well, let's start with unintentional. Unintentional contamination is probably what most people are familiar with, where accidentally there's a contaminant, maybe contaminated, maybe water, irrigation water with contamination from livestock gets into a field, and then the produce becomes contaminated. Or maybe a worker or machinery in the facility has not been properly sanitized and there's contamination. So that's unintentional contamination. Intentional contamination is actually somebody deliberately contaminating food. And so that's what food defense is about, that, how to guard against that. So again, not so much an international question specifically, although certainly we have a global food supply, and we do need to be concerned about food that comes into the United States. So for more questions on that, please contact the national program leaders in the Division of Food Safety, and you can find their contact information within the AFRI RFA under the Food Safety, Nutrition, and Health section. Okay, I think, let me just page back, because there are a couple of questions that are coming in. I missed a couple here. Let me just go back. Examples. Okay, do we have any collaboration through African countries? While we don't have any specifically, we would like to. If you have collaborations on your own, you're certainly welcome to bring those collaborative relationships into your work with AFRI. We have been having discussions with our colleagues at the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, to try to have some collaboration with them that would connect with African countries. And also, I mentioned the collaboration with the CGIAR system, and a number of the CG centers, International Ag Research Centers, are located on the African continent, and even the ones that aren't located there work with African countries. So that is another way to get involved. But again, if you have your own contacts, we're happy for you to utilize them and work with them through AFRI. Okay, next question. Are these new for this year, or were they already there? Okay, you're probably asking about some of the opportunities. What's new for this year is the opportunity in the plant breeding area to request $150,000 over the $500,000 maximum. And in the animal area, 2 of them were there last year, but there's a new one there this year. So there were some new ones and some additional ones, and otherwise, the opportunities are pretty much the same, except the Ireland and Northern Ireland collaborative opportunities. There are more of those this year than last year. So more of those opportunities. So some of those are new, and some of the opportunities for requesting $150,000 more are new. Okay, next question. Well, somebody said, let's see here, just next question. Please advise if there is any restriction on collaboration with peers in China at this special time, given such collaboration will benefit U.S. agriculture. There right now, different universities I know some have been evaluating their collaborations with some institutions in China. Usually, sometimes the issues revolve around intellectual property. So we encourage any collaborations to look at what your intellectual property arrangements are. But at this time, there has not been any restriction issued in particular regarding China. Next, must the grant collaborative process with international partners be coordinated through the respective international partners' embassies in the U.S. and U.S. Embassy of the partnering institution? No. There is no reason to do that. I mean, when I say there's no reason, there's no requirement to do that. And so certainly, working however you normally work is fine. If you are in the country and want to connect with the U.S. Embassy, you can let us know. We can try to link you with the agricultural attachés at the embassy. And there's certainly benefits if you're working with the country and you want to get some information from them, but there is no requirement for the collaboration to work through the U.S. embassies. Just work directly with them as you would with any other collaborator. Okay, question. Which African countries are included in the collaboration for USDA AFRI funding? Again, there are no countries in particular. So if you have a relationship with a country in Africa and you want to work with them, you certainly can apply to include work with them under AFRI. Do you provide pre-doctoral scholarship for students from Africa? The scholarships do require U.S. citizenship, so they can be from the African continent, but they would need to have U.S. citizenship. What is integrated project? What is meant by that? Within the AFRI parlance, integrated projects are those projects that are not research only, but they include research and education or extension. In the case of the integrated projects for the AFRI Sustainable Ag Systems RFA, all 3 must be included: research, education, and extension. And you'll see that described in the RFA. Next question. I have a possible collaborator in Thailand who would like to use seafood waste to extract useful food ingredients. I have a technology that I think will help do that. Is that a viable idea for a proposal? Well, I tell you, to me, it sounds very interesting. And what I will invite you to do, as I will for any of our applicants, is the national program leaders listed in the RFA are there and available to answer very specific questions that you have. So if you want to send them an email or give them a call, you're very much welcome to do that, and they very much are happy to hear from you. But that type of thing that you described, at least from that short your question, um, is certainly within the realm of the types of projects that have had international collaboration, not on that particular subject, but in working with a country in this way. But again, you can get more information, and I invite you to follow up with the national program leader for, in that area for aquaculture and also in food technology. Will we get a link to chat and presentation? This was good. Well, yes, we will have a link, the Zoom link. And does the Zoom link include the chat? Do you know? I'll check with my colleague here, Mr. Pridemore. Oh, we can post that. He said there's a way to post that separately. So yes, we will get that. We'll get that to you. Okay, next. Do any of the grant mechanisms provide an opportunity for U.S. agribusiness participation if they provide trade, market development, or applied research opportunities? Well, yes, in the sense that again, you look more closely at the grants. One thing you might be interested in, separate from AFRI, is the Small Business Innovation Research Program, SBIR. So that's one way. But I also invite you to contact the national program leader for your particular area of interest, because maybe there could be opportunity for the business to be a collaborator with you on the project. So as part of your research project. There have been projects that have included businesses and universities, so you may want to look into that. Next question, in the international collaboration, what percentage of work needs to be done in the US and in other countries? Well, it's not so much a percentage of where the work is done as it is if you are providing funding to an international partner. Typically, and this is true, I think even with the domestic partnerships, but you would, as the grant receiver, the majority of the funds need to be with you. So you can have subcontracts or subawards, but what you can't do is provide most of the money to somebody else. So that's really the rule of thumb there. And you can also ask more specifically with your national program leader. But the main thing is that as the awardee, that you're retaining most of the funding. Let's see, next question here. Does the international collaboration allow several countries instead of one to be involved? Yes, you can involve multiple countries. Sometimes people work with an institution, and that institution itself is multilateral, multiple countries, or they're working separately with multiple countries in there, but that is certainly fine. For example, if you think of Ireland and Northern Ireland, well, Ireland is a country and Northern Ireland's part of the United Kingdom. So that's one example right there where we're working with two countries there. So yes, multiple countries are certainly not a problem. You are invited to do that if it makes sense for your program. I think maybe, it looks like another question may be coming in on the chat. Let me just see here. While we're waiting for more chat questions, Olivia, do you have any thoughts to share? Any particular questions for Olivia from the AFRI team?
I would definitely recommend that everyone read through the RFA. The foundational and applied science RFA has many, many programs. The descriptions are all listed in Part 1C, and each of those programs has one or more contacts that you can talk to about fit to program to see if your project really is in the realm of what they're looking for.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Olivia. Olivia is with the AFRI team, so it's good to have her here on these questions. Let's see, now my chat box has disappeared. Do you still have it showing there? Or this, I think maybe another question's coming in. Let's see if we can get the chat box back up here. Thank you, Arthur. Let's see. Well, I think the last question I see on here is, does the international collaboration allow several countries? And we mentioned yet that it does. So you're still invited to send in your questions. Meanwhile, let me go again back to this slide. As I mentioned, this 8-page brochure has a number of different examples. This brochure was produced last year, and we'll also have the brochure from 2017 at the same link, at the same URL. So you can actually see additional examples. And electronically, when you look at this, if you scroll over the titles to each of these summaries, that title links you back into the full report in the NIFA database. So, and then these are all publicly accessible reports. So if you want to get more detail on what the international collaboration was, as I said, you just scroll over the title and click on that link. It'll take you back to the full report. So here's contact information. You can get to me or Patty, and also if you have questions for Olivia, we can link you with her. We have a bunch of different links there. Again, you can write to Patty or me directly, or send it to CIP, that's the Center for International Programs, at nifa.usda.gov. And there are some different links. Again, the link on the AFRI International Partnerships webpage, some other links there to help you find more information on these different opportunities. And I don't see any other questions in the chat. Let me just end by saying the top line message is that NIFA supports global engagement that advances U.S. agricultural goals. There are many good reasons to have international activity or work with international partners in any of the three AFRI RFAs. And many universities and researchers and educators and extension people have done so. So if you're interested in doing so as well, please go ahead. If you have questions, contact your national program leaders. As Olivia mentioned, they're outlined and identified in the RFAs. And you can also write to Patty and myself. And with that, we don't have any other questions. We will be putting a link out for this webinar, hopefully by tomorrow. And it's a webinar, it's been recorded. And with that, we thank you very much for joining us, and good luck with your applications to AFRI. And let me just mention, many other programs have international opportunities as well. So check them out on our NIFA International Partnerships webpage, and also on our link there for global engagement opportunities. You'll see all of the different grant programs that have some sort of global engagement. Thank you very much, and have a good day.